Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kinguin Pro League 2015. We are going to be hopping into the two last matches of the day. We just saw Reynad versus Hyped. Hyped took the game 3-2. We've had a lot of really close series today, which were, I mean, it makes for a change. We see you very often pretty nice sweeps, but in this case, it's been pretty close all day long. Now we have Hyped versus RDU. Hyped, it's the second match of the day. He's catching up on the schedule, or at least racing ahead of the schedule, I think, because he's going to be playing his sixth match. And RDU is 1-4 in KPL. Hyped is four wins and 1 loss. So RDU really wants to get the wins.
Yeah, they're kind of on opposite sides of the spectrum. Hyped is tied for first place with Life Coach and
Possibly
Dog,
Strive Pro.
and
Okay,
Dog.
yeah, Dog in this group.
In Group Horde. Meanwhile, RDU is in absolute last place in his group, and it kind of mirrors his performance in the last few months.
Yeah.
Basically, when RDU first debuted in the scene, he won a tournament. He won DreamHack Bucharest. Then he proceeded to win pretty much everything. But ever since WCA, where he maintained
fourth place.
Yeah, fourth place, which is still very good. He hasn't really been performing to his standards. That being said, he's still done really well on the ladder. I believe he's ranked number 4 in terms of EU BlizzCon points. So very respectable there.
What I find interesting is that I see him play, and he just plays so solid, but he doesn't get the wins. He's always this close. It feels like the variance is hitting like really hard on him recently.
I think I've talked to like some of his teammates, for example, and some of his other friends, and what they're telling me is that sometimes he tends to overthink lineups, and he overthinks things. So he's trying to out metagame his opponent, but he thinks like 2 steps ahead instead of the 1 step ahead that he needs to.
Yeah, 2 steps ahead puts you back exactly where you were in the first place.
Exactly. And then like RDU is like, because of that, he's like really stressed, and he thinks he has to try harder, and next time he goes 3 steps ahead when he needs to go 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, I can see why that is. Like I've outplayed myself quite a few times. I think WCA was the first example and the prime example of that, where I played into my own, my own fears, and I ended up overthinking things that were fairly simple. And the stress that it puts on you, I can understand, I can relate with. So RDU, as a tournament winner, as a previous tournament winner, you want to get those wins because you feel like if you lose, there's something wrong with your play. But sometimes it's not even that complicated. It's not even that complex. It's just straight up a matter of you're playing well. You're just picking on the wrong lineup, as you said, because you're overthinking. So reducing it down to the core or the fundamentals sometimes is a better way to approach the game.
Exactly. Now let's go into a bit about the lineups of both players. Heights will be bringing the same lineup that he brought in his last series. He's going to be bringing Druid, Mage, and actually it's slightly different because he's not bringing
Warrior.
So he's instead of Warrior, he's going to bring Druid, and he's going to bring Mage and Rogue. Meanwhile, RDU is going to bring the same lineup as Reynad did in the last tournament, or in the last series. He's going to bring Druid, Hunter, and Warrior. So Noxious, humor me on this. Is it possible that RDU and Reynad collaborated and worked together in order to try to defeat Hyped?
So they both picked the same exact decks and lineups just to beat Hyped because they were facing him today?
Yeah, and that they like communicated with each other, and they like really worked together, and they snuggled together.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. I can imagine RDU and Reynad snuggling.
Yeah,
that's totally, fanfic. I can already see where this is going. Can Chad please make some copy pasta about RDU and Reynad? Thank you. You can email me at noxioushearthstone@gmail.com with a copy pasta. I will make sure to spread it over all the internet. So this lineup, both players are playing Druid. I think I can understand why. It's a class that punishes. If they get a good start, they punish any deck, right? It's really hard to... I mean, and that's kind of the strength of the class itself, is that it's good in just about every metagame in some way. If you tech it out just a tiny bit, you can make it work. We see it win against Warrior. We mentioned the Druid's lineup. Warrior's matchup improved because of Shield Maiden, but Druid still takes the wins very, very consistently. Mage, on the other hand, from Hype's lineup, I have to somewhat wonder what it's trying to beat in this right at the moment.
I think what Hyped is thinking is that Mage is just a solid deck all around. Just like Life Coach's line of thinking, he brings Mech Mage to pretty much every tournament because he thinks it's one of the best decks in the format. And I would have to think that Hyped agrees with him.
Okay, so it's just an overall solid deck that you want to bring. But Life Coach got punished severely for bringing Mech Mage, as we saw against Dog earlier. He got his first loss in the KPL, so Dog did the best that any player did in the KPL against Life Coach, who had an amazing win streak that got broken. So if Hyped is trying to play, the same thing, and RDU expects Mech Mage, he might be trying to counter it, but I don't think his lineup really lends itself too well to do that.
Yeah, we talked a bit last time, or in the last series, about how Reynad might be trying to counter Hype's Rogue. That we all know that Hype is going to bring Rogue to every single tournament, to every single series. So we suggested that Reynad might be trying to counter Hype's Rogue, and at the same time, like, RDU might be trying to do the same thing with his lineup, which might likely be Phase Hunter and Warrior again, both counter Rogue, and Druid, which also, depending on how you built it, might have a slight to huge advantage against Rogue. I might even expect to see something like Double Spectral Knight in this deck. And Double Spectral Knight, Harrison Jones, what else is really good against Rogue?
Well, in general, it's just putting
Dr. Boom,
Dr. Boom. Yeah, the thing is, you have an interesting deck building approach with Druid, where you can build it ramp, mid-range with one combo, or fast Druid with double combo, right? And those are kind of they're all similar in a way, in the way that they play out, because you usually rely on wild growths and innervates to get the initiative, but they play very differently, because when you've only got the one combo, your playstyle is very different. You're not fishing as much, you're not being as aggressive, whereas if you play fast Druid with the double combo, very often you just charge to the face, and that is what Rogue suffers against. Rogue beats mid-range Druid with a single combo pretty much 70% of the time, but as soon as you're facing up against something like a single double combo Druid, then things become a lot easier for the Druid player.
Yeah, we're going to go into the first match soon, but before we do so, we're going to talk about the first picks, which are going to be Warrior from RDU and Hyped Mage for Hyped.
All right.
And it's going to be kind of a repeat of the final match of the last series.
Possibly, if it's Mech Mage, if it is Freeze Mage, or like Value Mage, picture that. You're like Value Mage with Sludge Belchers, duplicates. If Hyped brings that, then that has a huge edge over Warrior, because they run out of removal very quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
I really wonder if that's what if that's the deck that Hyped would consider bringing.
Yeah, it's very possible, because Hyped is known for playing duplicate mage, like with Moltens and Mountain Giants. He's very into like very weird sorts of mages.
Yeah.
I have to say that I also noticed that RDU was in the chat for the previous series, at least for Reynad versus Hyped. So he definitely saw those games. So if Hype decides to bring the same decks, I think RDU is going to pretty much know what to expect.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of an edge there as far as the information. And oh my god, Hyped has the worst possible. We're about to get into the game, guys. You'll see exactly why our reaction is what it is. Hyped is losing this game 9 times out of 10. And prepare your... actually, you just go grab a pillow and a blanket, boys.
So as you can see, this is going to be most likely Freeze Mage versus Control Warrior. So get ready for a long one, and get ready for one of the most, or I wouldn't say one of the most, the most one-sided matchup in Hearthstone history.
Yeah, the absolute most. The only time where Mage wins is with an amazing Archmage, which fortunately for Hyped is in his hand.
Yeah.
That is the one upside to it. If
you need the Archmage and you need the Alexstrasza on curve.
Yeah, perfectly on. You're back to back with the double ice blocks perfectly set up. They don't even matter. I mean, it's just such a... I wouldn't even be surprised to see Hyped escape concede, but I think that might be against the policy of the tournament.
Hyped, he's like kind of smiling right now, laughing at like what happened.
The ridiculousness of everything. He's like, you know what? Why am I even bothering?
Yeah, like what I said before. Like, to be honest, I feel like bringing Freeze Mage when you're Hyped probably isn't a good decision overall, because most players are going to be trying to counter your Rogue anyway, and one of or like pretty much the best Rogue counter or one of the 2 best Rogue counters is
are also countering. Yeah, but they also happen to counter Freeze Mage as well.
Exactly.
I mean, Face Hunter, like if RDU is running Fast Druid, Face Hunter, and Control Warrior, there is no way Hyped is getting out of this with a Conquest format.
Yeah, just sniping that Rogue yet once again. But you know what? We see...
You know what? Ping the Armor Smith and give him the value he wants. Just like buff him up as fast as possible so he can get out of the game ASAP.
At this point, you can even like concede at this point, because like if you play the thing is, like, this is the one time you don't want to play Acolyte of Pain into 2 1/4 minions. How insane is that?
Oh, the fact that I'm actually witnessing this, and I mean RD is just like, you know what? Let's autopilot. Well, we can, if I had... You want to do some trivia? I guess I could find... we do some Japperino. Oh, man. We could you know what? We could make bets about who takes the game. Not who takes the game, but... Which card is gonna get top deck?
Okay, that could be fun as well. Let's make a bet on what the last card played in this series is.
Okay, I'm gonna say the last card played by Hyped is going to be Icelands.
Okay, I'm gonna say the last card played in this match or this series, or no, this match, right?
This match, yeah,
this
just
match,
this match.
Is gonna be Ragnaros.
Okay. Oh, you know, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like once Ragnaros comes down, Hyped might just concede because
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a warrior that has this much armor, like in fact 2 armor smiths on the field and this much armor, and then Ragnaros comes down, you have nothing to deal with it, then you pretty much want to give up. I've seen a lot of players run actually big game hunter in freeze mage just to counter Ragnaros.
To counter Rag, yeah, it's their
Ragnaros-
biggest weak spot.
Exactly. Ragnaros has just been so popular lately in tournament formats. Maybe not on ladder, but in tournaments it's actually pretty strong.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty straightforward Cone of Cold Doomsayer turn. In fact, it might work. Well, it's gonna work, but look at the amount of armor. That's like an extra 6. Actually 9. Oh my god.
So
This is horrible.
basically at this point, that's more health and more armor than you're ever going to be able to get into.
Yeah. I think RDU might just play Shield Maiden because he can.
I'm
Does it matter? No,
I
honestly
think-
though, like he will not, but
Yeah,
he
yeah.
could, right?
Yeah, he could and
And it
still.
wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he just armor at this point.
Oh, all right. So 47 health right now. Let's try to see how high that can go. 47 effective health.
Wow. See, the other issue is that Hyped doesn't even have his card draw mechanics.
Yeah, they've been negated. So Fireball for 7, get that value out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got through
Chip
Shield
off some
Maiden.
armor. This is when your hunter idea would have worked out, like just get rid of all armor.
Well, I think eventually they're gonna add a card that does that. By the way, I really do think they will add a class-specific card for a specific class. That's going to remove a huge chunk of armor. Could be a rogue card, like a stealth minion. When it punches face, if the enemy has extra armor, it removes it first, and then
Yeah.
it deals damage to the face. But hey, there's a million ways you could design it.
I would actually like to see a card like that be neutral, perhaps, like kind of like
Yeah.
a Zod Mystic.
Could be nice, yeah. Stealth minion that removes some armor. Not a huge chunk, like 15 armor, but you could remove 5. It's dead in most cases, but when you do get the value, then you're happy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the Ragnaros turn.
So you attack face and you lose everything, and then you play Rag, and it doesn't even. You know what? At least it's gonna be a fast game. I'm gonna have to give that to RDU. He's speeding it up. This is usually like a 20-minute game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it goes down to fatigue, and because he finds Rag at the very bottom, and then it takes forever.
Yeah, so now Hyped is actually really close to being dead, or at least getting his ice block popped.
Wow, Archmage Frostbolt.
So good.
Yeah, I know. Incredible value here.
Wow, getting a fireball? I can't believe that.
It's crazy. What are you gonna do, man?
Yeah, if you fireball the face, then that means your opponent still has like 40 health left.
Yeah, but you're almost there, right? You're only 40 to go. That's
Yeah,
pretty
6
close if you
6
think
down,
about it.
40 to go.
Yeah. Oh man, the cruel task execute. Not that it matters, but
So yeah, this might be...
that's
I
gonna be
think-
game next turn. You know what? We're fortunate to at least have a very quick freeze mage versus warrior, because usually those games, and they really drag on for no reason, because you know the outcome of it before it starts. Even Hype knew it. As soon as he came into this, you saw the smirk on his face, like, well, this is gonna be game, and yep.
Yeah, this is just kind of one of those matchups that you have to give up on, and one of the weaknesses of bringing Freeze Mage into this kind of format. That being said, like I feel like Freeze Mage is actually slightly better in the Conquest format rather than in the King of the Hill format, because King of the Hill format, if your opponent even just has a warrior in their lineup, they can just they can just counterpick it against that and just get an easy win.
Whereas Freeze Mage in general, if you steal a win against something like a Mecha Mage or a mid-range deck, you can usually beat mid-range decks. That's the strength of it, is you get a really good board clear in general, and you can transition to that late game when you've generally got a good matchup against a pretty wide portion of the field, including, Paladins are not a win in general for Freeze Mage. There are many decks that are just easy to beat, but something like a Control Warrior is just horrendous.
Yeah.
So it's really just about not running into those.
Freeze Mage, I feel like, is one of those decks like Face Hunter and like Rogue that are really good against most decks, but really bad against
Specific ones.
Yeah, exactly. Just very specific ones. And Control Warrior being that deck that kind of beats all 3 of them.
Yep. So Hyped is going to be picking his Mage again versus RDU's next deck is going to be Druid. So Fast Druid here with Double Spectral Knight has a pretty good matchup against Freeze Mage. And, you know, so does Face Hunter if that's what he picked. So Hyped might have just gotten, you know, lineup sniped.
Well, actually, like, I think most players agree that Freeze Mage is actually favored against Face Hunter.
Yeah, I guess to an extent, if you do get the... Because in general, I guess lately it's been the case. It used to be the way around where you could burst them down before they did anything. But with the removal, I guess, of Undertaker, the metagames changed.
We see actually Ragnaros in the opening hand of RDU. That means he runs Ragnaros in the deck. So we might actually see RDU keep Ragnaros in his opening hand just because of how good it is against Freeze Mage.
I mean, if you're playing Ragnaros and a Druid, it's either ramp or you're sniping against Freeze Mage. Right? I mean, do you see it much nowadays?
Not on ladder, but it's definitely a consideration for tournaments because, like, you might want to use it just against, like, Rogue or Freeze Mage, for instance.
All right.
So, yeah, RDU indeed keeps the Ragnaros because he knows the value of that card in this matchup.
Yeah, and he's got time ahead of him.
Oh, look at that. So, luckily for...
Oh my god, what?
Alright, we're gonna see it. The famed turn 3 Ragnaros.
You are kidding me. There is no way this is real. Well, I mean, there is a Frostbolt Fireball, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's gonna be fine.
This Ragnaros won't be that great.
It won't even fall down on turn 4, will it? I mean, it will because like RDU has to pray that Hype doesn't have the answer. If Ragnaros snipes a 2/2 though, this is better. Because otherwise it just dies to Fireball straight up.
Yes.
And that's gonna be a problem. Okay.
So at least Rag will get 2 shots in. That's
I mean, Hyped has to go Loot Hoarder, Coin, Frostbolt, and then Fireball. That's the only way. The only thing he's afraid of is something like an Earthring Farseer, but that's very unlikely.
Oh, Earthring Farseer, that'd be great.
Yeah, like if he just goes, you know, Loot Hoarder, Coin, Frostbolt, and then Earthring Farseer comes out to heal Rag, that's like a nightmare, but...
Yeah, that's pretty much game over because you can't kill Rag at that point.
Yeah, you have to top deck back-to-back answers.
Hyped might... He's definitely going to Frostbolt this turn, but he might be thinking of whether he wants to save the Loot Hoarder and the coin.
Yeah, the thing is, by playing Loot Hoarder, what you're forcing your opponent to do is, you know, he might consider hero powering it just to make sure he gets the 8 damage in. But if you don't do that, then you allow him to play 5-drop unhindered. Wow, he's going to curve into Ancient of Lore with that second Wild Growth. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and for example, if RDU, or rather if Hype didn't have that Fireball, then RDU could have even considered healing up the Rag.
Healing up the Rag, yeah.
How crazy would that be?
If there was no Fireball here for Hyped, I mean, RDU would heal it up, I think. It would, he would. It's such a strong play, but now we're transitioning to the portion of the game where Hyped... We were talking about this earlier, right? This exact situation where you have the amazing start, but you need to get the follow-ups in order to put pressure on. Well, he does find them, never mind me.
Yeah. I mean, that Doctor Boom is going to be very great.
Yeah.
Not only is it really tanky, it has 7 health, but the Boom Bots are going to deal insane damage to the Freeze Mage.
Yeah. And Hyped has a little smile on his face. This is the win that RDU might have been waiting for. This series, a convincing win, possibly, depending on how the games end. But, I mean, looking at this, there's a good Flame Strike value here. It's not terrible.
Somewhat, but...
You're going to take 7 and,
exactly.
you know, bot damage. Maybe you just double Acolyte of Pain to set up for bot value. You're dead to Savage Roar, though, so you have to maybe... I mean, you can't even play around it.
I think you might be thinking of that you need to ping the Dr. Boom. I don't know. Well, because, like, if somehow your opponent gets rid of these Acolytes of Pain, and you... and like, Dr. Boom survives, then you're not going to be able to kill it without clearing the board as well. Like, Flame Strike doesn't actually clear the board.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Blizzard would, in this case. It would actually help quite a bit. The Blizzard into Flame Strike would do it, but when do you put down the Ice Block?
Ouch.
Look at that health. Yeah, he can win basically with just Force of Nature on its own. And the Boombot hits. That's going to be likely enough. Well, that's going to be a good way to get an ice block out. The only secret
yeah.
left in the deck is the ice block. The ice barrier, the first ice barrier came out of the first Mad Scientist. So if you play Mad Scientist coin Blizzard, you could get an ice block off of it.
Yeah, hopefully the boom bots don't are aimed towards the minions and not towards the Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist is going to come out, and this is going to be the defining moment of this game.
Yeah, it needs to get that ice block.
Hit?
They need to hit the minions, because if the face is hit, then Force of Nature wins. Or at least pops the first block. And down goes the Mad Scientist. Popping the second ice block here. Hyped has a second one in hand that he can play.
You know what's interesting is that because the Mad Scientist was played first, I believe you draw the cards first before you get the secret out. So it's possible that Hyped could have drawn his last secret.
Yeah, and not been able to do what he wanted. Well, it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation, because how do you pop the Belcher and the Slime? I think the answer is you can't.
The bigger issue is
you can't ping Sylvanas.
Yeah. So at this point, do you just what's it called? Arcane
Int. Yeah, I think you Arcane Int after the ping on the Acolyte Sacrifice to hope for Frost Nova possibly.
Frost Nova into Doomsayer would be pretty insane.
Yeah, I think you need to do that, because otherwise your Flame Strike is essentially a dead card.
Or actually, yeah, you can't even Fireball into Doomsayer. He just needs a Doomsayer now, to be honest. Like, usually if you Fireball the Sylvanas and drop a Doomsayer on the board, you can force your opponent to steal the Doomsayer. Yeah. But that's not going to be an option here with the amount of mana that Hyped has.
Yeah, because RDU got, double Innervate initially, plus the double Wild Growth into Ancient of Lore for perfect curve draw. And we were talking about that earlier, right? The Druid's strength is in its ability to curve easily, no matter which, mana cost of the minion they have. And sometimes you see them have absolutely wonky hands, where they have minions, but they just can't play any of them. Not a single one.
Yeah, this is certainly not one of those times, though. Yep. Like, basically, RDU got the dream. He got double Innervate into Ancient of Lore, and we see a Nourish.
Yeah, that seems like Life Coach type of deck.
Yeah, it's essentially just Life Coach tech.
Wow, Hyped losing 2 games with his Freeze Mage. That Druid from RDU getting the perfect curve. That was a really insane start for RDU, but now he can't use his Druid anymore. He's going to be relegated to his Hunter. So now Hyped has to win against a Hunter. He's got Druid, Mage, and Rogue, which, Mage wins if it's face Hunter. Mid-range Hunter as well, sometimes. Most of the time. So I guess he could stick to his Mage again, and RDU is going to have to go for his Hunter.
Yeah, I feel like Hyped has just stuck with the Mage the entire time, so I feel like he probably should just pick it at in the next game. Yeah, why not? You're comfortable with the Mage. You kind of warmed up with the Mage, so... Yeah. Really, like, you have to beat your opponent's Hunter with all 3 of your decks anyway, so might as well just stick it out with the Mage again.
And he does that, exactly. We've just been given information. He's going to be using the Mage once more.
Yeah, prove to everyone that your decision to bring Mage into this lineup wasn't a bad decision.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, like, the decision itself was not bad if it weren't for RDU's lineup, the specific lineup that RDU brought, which punishes Freeze Mage quite... extensively. And worst case scenario, it looks like he's targeting Rogue, but it happens to also be, 2 out of the 3 decks that beat Freeze Mage.
Yeah, never lucky.
Hashtag Baby Rage. Well, we'll see exactly how this last game goes, but if the Hunter gets an obscene start, this could be very troublesome. And it does happen.
All right, we're starting off with the possibly final game, and it's going to be Face Hunter yet again. We've actually seen Mid-Range Hunter kind of disappearing out of the metagame.
It's gone, yeah. It cycles, it's back in when Druid becomes non-fast. When people are playing the Mid-Range Druid, it cycles back in, and then it gets thrown out by, Face Hunter, which then brings out the Control Warriors, which happen to beat Fast Druids, and then the metagame has to cycle to beat those. And you end up with a very dynamic metagame as a result.
Yeah. A lot of players say that actually that mid-range Hunter is favored against Druid, but I've heard a lot of people, like Nyman says, it's closer to 50-50 than most people think.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, Forsen even thinks that Druid is favored, so just a lot of interesting
dynamics there. A lot of
Yeah.
people have different opinions about this matchup, but I think it all comes down to what you mulligan for. And each player has different mulligan preferences, right? And those very much affect the way that the matchup pans out.
Yeah, usually this hand is pretty terrible from Hyped, this double Ice Barrier hand. But actually in this matchup, it's not too bad.
It's borderline mandatory. I mean, Mad Scientist would work pretty well, but I'll take the double Ice Barrier, so the Mad Scientist pop out the Ice Blocks for sure.
Yeah, I was listening to Firebat cast in the VIA Game House Cup, and he says that he pretty much never loses this matchup when he gets 2 Ice Barriers in his when he's able to play 2 Ice Barriers. Basically.
Yeah, you've got 46 effective health, right? Is the same problem that Rogue has or Face Hunter has against Control Warrior, or that Rogues have against Control Warrior, where when there's too much armor at play, you're running out of burst, and Face Hunter is all about dealing damage. There's nothing else. There's no complexity beyond dealing damage.
Yeah.
So the point of it is to pack as much of it as you possibly can. Look at this play, for instance. You know, Doomsayer on this board is crushing, because now RDU has to redirect 7 damage, not to the face, which means as a result that there's going to be a clear board, and it's going to buy time for Hype to play a turn 5 Mad Scientist Ice Barrier into a Blizzard if anything goes wrong. So really, I feel like this is a matchup that Freeze Mage has a pretty good time with. It used to be very one-sided for the Face Hunter, though. A long time ago.
Yeah, back when Flare was the thing, right?
Yep. It used to be unwinnable for Mage.
I'm glad they actually changed Flare. It was
a bit toxic, right?
Yeah, it like pretty much didn't allow Mad Scientists for other secrets to really work out.
Alright, well, no Doomsayer was played by Hyped, but he's definitely going to be setting something up here, like a Doomsayer Ice Barrier after the trade into the other Mad Scientist. That is probably going to be a good play. Now, we look at the Explosive Trap here lying around, right, for RDU. It may seem insignificant, but sometimes it comes down to that very last Alex Straza trying to attack. And it triggers the trap, which might kill the Mage. So it has to be timed right as far as triggering.
Yeah, also RDU could be bluffing Snake Trap. We actually saw a Snake Trap in his opening hand.
We were.
Yeah, he decided to mulligan it away, but we know he has Snake Trap in his hand, and that's actually very, very significant here. So Hyped might even be considering not attacking here with his Mad Scientist at all. We saw Savitz make a similar play in the VIA Game House Cup, for instance. Just kind of, even though he had a position where he could have somewhat tried to clear the board with Mad Scientist, he didn't want to give his opponent so many snakes.
No, you don't want to give him the advantage of maybe having more damage output if you don't have an immediate clear.
Yeah. So,
You know what? I wonder if with Flamewaker we're going to see Arcane Explosion. I'd like to see that. That'd be nice.
It's certainly possible, yeah. Although I feel like when you're playing new decks, you don't want to put bad cards into your deck just for the sake of comboing.
Of trying them out, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't get that combo, then you're like those cards are just really bad altogether.
Yeah. So apparently Hyped is not going to be triggering the secret, just killing the Mad Scientist. And now he gets the Explosive Trap. He gets information as to how many different types of traps are in RDU's deck. He sees the Explosive Trap trigger. It's a Face Hunter, so he's got to be expecting the Snake Trap. He saw the abuse. Although Abusive Sergeant wasn't a telltale sign as Face Hunter, it could still be a mid-range on the aggressive side. Although if the Arcane Golem comes out, that's going to be a giveaway.
I feel like the fact that that Hyped, or rather that RDU has been trying to fit in hero powers every single turn, probably
does
gives,
invoke,
yeah, exactly.
right.
Like basically RDU coined out the spiders, and then he hero powered on turn 2. Why would you do that if you're playing mid-range?
If you're playing mid-range, yeah, you're gonna have something better to do with that turn. Well, okay, oh man, such a tricky spot. So he's gonna be able to pop that second Ice Barrier, at least get it off the board, not wipe it completely to the point where he can start damaging the health, but he's gonna be getting it off. And the interesting thing is that with that Leper Gnome, he might have warranty against a board wipe at some point. When at the very end of the game, when the mage is down to 2 health with an ice block up, you put down Leper Gnome, he's completely locked out. Well, Alex Straza into Pyroblast Fireball does look like a viable line of play. That's a good
Yeah.
Blizzard, and that's probably going to be game after that point. Blizzard played Doomslayer to prevent recurring minions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
preemptively, just to make sure he doesn't flood the board with anything else.
I also like using Blizzard here instead of Kona Cold because I feel like Kona Cold, because it's less mana, it can be used later in the game. Exactly.
Yeah. If there is a later, which based on this is unlikely. Kazan Mystic hype. You know what? That would be crazy. That would actually legitimately be crazy. If I see a Kazan Mystic come out of RDU.
That'd be a little too insane, I'd say.
Yeah. What if he plays Flare? What if RDU brings Flare to a tournament? Actually, what if a Hunter brings Flare to a tournament? Not just RDU, just anyone.
Well, I look forward to that day.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it one day and lose miserably.
It'll be certainly hype. Actually, we saw one of the Chinese players at the EU versus CN #2 tournament do it. Unfortunately, he never drew into his Flare, which is very sad.
Well,
He's actually playing a Face Hunter mirror, and if he had top decked Flare at any point of the game, he would have won.
Oh man. That's just enough to pop the block, right?
Wow.
But then he's dead. You know what? Hyped is hoping this is not freezing trap. What if there's more than just the snake trap and the explosives? What if there is a freezing? I didn't see the secret yet. What if?
Was that secret played?
It was a mad scientist secret.
It was a mad. Okay, so it's definitely not snake, or
it could be snake. It was explosive on the board. It could be snake. All right, we're getting word from the admins. A snake trap. All right, good game, hyped. You're taking this one. Yeah. Well, I had hoped that we would see an epic finish, but I mean, regardless, you have to admit the. Wait, what?
Fireball still kills him, right?
No.
No, it doesn't. Wow.
What? He thinks it's freezing.
That's interesting. I'm not sure what's going on here, to be honest.
How did he? Well, he could have at least played Fireball when he had Blood Mage on the board, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my god!
What happened here?
Now he's got to be feeling like he threw this game. He's shaking his head. RDU is confused more so than I am. I think those last two losses have taken their toll on Hyped's mindset. That was a complete throw. RDU is mind blown at the fact that he won this game, and that's going to be the series for him. This is not a mistake you expect a pro player to make. This is absolutely not one of those mistakes. And RDU is just ecstatic for taking this win. What
you can't believe that happened. You can't believe Hype essentially just gave him a game on a silver platter.
And you know what? I think the reason is because recently we've seen a lot of face hunters, and I've seen Frezar play this, and I've seen a lot of players play Freezing Trap and Explosive Trap in their deck, which essentially leads him to believe that the second possible trap could only be Freezing. It couldn't be Snake. We just don't see that. And RDU, with the appropriate second trap, is able to happenstance bluff Hyped. And that was honestly one of the most epic finishes to a game. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless right now, and RDU is the opposite of speechless. He's like really giddy right now. He's typing furiously in chat. What just happened? Like,
and you know what's incredible is if Hyped had gone for the Blood Mage, Fireball face first, then Ping to see for Ice Block, if he had done that in that order, he would have won anyway.
Yeah, I think he was really looking for the Ice Block, or his second Ice Block, and if he didn't, like, he needed to draw it in order to not die to Freezing Trap.
Yeah, but he would have been able to. He would have been able to go Blood Mage, then you Fireball, and then you Ping. He wouldn't have been
able to play
his Ice Block.
Yeah.
So he really was playing to Freezing Trap like 100%. That was the only thing that he was
exactly. So we're taking a look at the scoreboard right now. Unfortunately, Hyped is not able to tie for first place. Right now, he is at 4-2. RDU does manage to get out of last place with that win, and he's now at 2-4. So kind of closer to the middle of the pack, although still fairly far behind.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, he's got to be happy because he's won his last, he won one series so far. His last one was a pretty close one, and now he's been able to win against Hyped. I mean, RDU needs to, at least if only for his mindset, he needs to be taking wins from now on. This is something that I'm really happy for him about, but Hyped has got to be biting his nails about that last game. I mean, but I can't even blame him because I look at the board state and we know it's Snake Trap. I would have probably made the same mistake. Or at least played it the same way or a similar way.
Yeah.
Looking back at it.
I probably wouldn't have, but only because I had never seen Freezing Trap in a Phase Hunter deck before.
Really? We've seen a lot of it in KPL. A lot of it.
Just because I don't know the metagame as well, I probably wouldn't have made the mistake. So it's kind of really weird how
ignorance
that works,
is bliss,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's
Ignorance
exactly what they
bliss.
say.
So basically, like any rank 20 player might have not made that mistake. So rank 20 players are better than Hyped, confirmed, I guess.
So we're going to be going for a 10 minutes break, guys. We'll be coming back for the last match of the day, the match that was postponed on Tuesday, Frezar versus Firebat. Hopefully Frezar had a different lineup because I made the mistake with Lothar on Tuesday of mentioning what his lineup was as a side note. So hopefully he's got a fresh roster of decks, and if not, then at least they're going to be tweaked slightly. We're going to be right back in 10 minutes. Kinguin Pro League is about to finish for the day.